As Jimmy walked through the mall, the smell of freshly baked bread and brewing coffee broke into his consciousness. He followed the scents until he came to the food court. Following the fragrance of popping corn, he walked over to the popcorn stand and ordered a jumbo bag. Munching on a handful of popcorn, he sauntered nonchalantly to Capablanca's Game Emporium. He was about to enter when he saw a notice saying, "No food or drink allowed." Weighing his options, he reluctantly tossed the still half-full bag into a trash can and entered. Before he could get his bearings, he heard the inevitable question, "May I help you?" Jimmy was about to say, "I'm just looking, thanks," when he turned around to see a young, dark-haired girl smiling at him. Before he knew what he was saying, he blurted out, "Chess! Do you have chess?" "Sure," she answered pleasantly. "Right back here." As she led him to the rear of the shop, Jimmy was careful to keep his eyes fixed on the back of her head and not down at her legs or any of the rest of her. Her hair was black and wavy, and it fell almost to her waist. "Here we are," she said. "Do you like chess?" "Yeah," Jimmy answered. "I do too," she said, "but I'm no good. It's really hard." Yeah, I know," Jimmy stammered as he stared at her luscious red lips. She showed him the chess sets that were locked behind glass cases. As she stepped back for him, he noticed the neckline of her blouse was low, and he could see her abundant cleavage. Pinned just to the right of it, her employee identification badge flashed the name Haiti at him, and underneath in white letters, "Satisfaction Guaranteed." "There's a set here I just love," said Miss Beautiful, walking over to another set behind the sliding glass doors. "But nobody else seems to like it. I guess maybe because it's not like regular chess sets. You know, with the knights like horses' heads and..." "You mean Staunton?" said Jimmy. "That's what they call those standard chess sets most people use." She smiled. "You really do know chess, don't you? I'm impressed." Jimmy gulped. He was struggling not to stare at her soft, sloping cleavage. "Can I touch them?" he asked. The chess pieces, I mean," he added hastily and unnecessarily. "Just a minute," she said, still smiling. "I'll go and get the key." While she went for the key, Jimmy looked through the glass at the white and black pieces standing on the checkered field. It was quite a fanciful set. The pawns were winged fairies, and the bishops pipe-playing fawns, which made him think of the scene in The Wind in the Willows, when Mole and Ratty see Pan standing guard over Otter's sleeping baby. The knights, on the other hand, appeared to be dinosaurs, but not the sort of nightmarish reptilian monsters normally seen in Hollywood movies. These were much more scientifically accurate, very bird-like, with a soft, feathery down and gentle, intelligent-looking faces. And then there were the queens, beautiful, regal sorceresses. All the pieces on the board stood erect and at attention, ready for anything. After a few minutes, Miss Beautiful came back and unlocked the sliding glass door and pulled it open. Impulsively, Jimmy picked up the Black Queen. Oh, that queen. She looked like a true queen of sorceresses, with long hair, delicate features, and, framing her beautiful head, a delicate tiara and two big flowers, one on each side. The smooth, polished stone was warm to his fingers, and as he examined the queen's finely crafted features, he felt an emotion he had never known before. "Aren't they nice?" the salesgirl said. "Nice to handle. Double-weighted." Jimmy gulped in response to the unintended double entendre. How much for this set?" "We have a special on that set. The pieces with the board are $295 plus tax." And she was unable to suppress a giggle as she watched Jimmy watching her. He struggled internally. He knew it was crazy. Spending over $200 for a chess set? What would Mom say when she found out? Yet, some deep force inside him he couldn't explain was urging him to buy the set. Casting caution to the wind, he said at last, "I'll take it." She smiled again and took the chess set to the cash register. She chatted as she wrapped the individual pieces in tissue paper. Jimmy watched her long hair fall forward over her shoulders as she rang up the order. He glanced at her name tag again. Haiti. Did you ever read The Count of Monte Cristo? He asked. No, she said. Who's the Count of Monte Cristo? It's a book, Jimmy replied. There's a princess in it. Her name is the same as yours. Do you like to read? She asked. You look like the kind of person who likes to read. Sometimes, Jimmy made the understatement of the century. I like guys who like to read, she said. You do? Of course. Will you be paying with cash or a card? Jimmy hesitated. Mom would be furious when she saw this on the next credit statement. And being near the blast of a star going supernova was safer than Mom when she was really angry. Yet that strange, invisible force within seemed to be guiding him as he handed Haiti the credit card. He sensed that she would be disappointed if he changed his mind at the last minute. And in that moment, disappointing the beautiful Haiti seemed worse than angering Mom a few weeks down the road. And also, it was so strange, unexplainable, yet so exciting. A quiet voice seemed to be whispering to him that buying this chess set would, somehow, alter the course of his entire life for the better. Back at home that night, he sat on his bed, carefully unwrapped the chess pieces, and arranged them on the chessboard in their starting positions, saving the queens for last. He wanted to start playing right away, but it was late and he had to go to bed. Before turning out the light, Jimmy reached over and pulled the black queen away from the other pieces. He held her closer to the light and examined her. She was dark and tall and powerful, and was he seeing things? She seemed to glow with an aura of electricity that did not emanate from the lamp. You're so beautiful, he whispered. He placed the queen back, switched off the light, and fell asleep. Jimmy didn't know what time it was when he woke, and he didn't know what woke him, but his head felt heavy. He reached over and switched on the light. He shaded his eyes as he looked to see the time. The digital clock registered 2:30 a.m. Gosh, I feel groggy, he said to himself as he went into the bathroom and splashed cold water on his face. I don't feel so good, he said loudly, projecting his voice toward his mother's bedroom. Mom? No answer. He muttered, wiping his face. Tossing the towel aside, he went over to the desk and looked at the chess pieces. Holy cats, he exclaimed. That's not where I left them. He rubbed his eyes and looked closer. The pawns and pieces were no longer in their starting positions where he left them, but were scattered about the board, and the black queen, flanked by a dinosaurian black knight, faced the white king head-on. And what was more, the white king was toppled over on his side. As he stared in disbelief, he heard what sounded like a quiet, distant laugh. A woman's laugh. But it wasn't Mom's laugh. It was a mellow, knowing kind of laugh. And it emanated not from the other side of the door, but from the desk where the chess pieces stood. In his shock, he looked up and happened to glance towards his dresser. In the mirror, he saw an indescribably beautiful woman with a tiara and 2 red flowers in her dark hair standing behind him. It was his chess queen, full-sized and in the flesh. She smiled, and he heard her laugh again. He turned sharply to look behind him, but there was no one there. His room was dark and silent. It could have been just a hallucination. Yet, he could have sworn he glimpsed a few wisps of a strange blue-green colored mist swirling around the spot he had seen the queen standing just seconds ago before they faded into nothing.